Come on! Squadrons, the guild system for Elite, and we've updated it! Now it's really good!
Well, about time. So that basically means I can invite everyone to my family-friendly, Frontier-approved Squadron, right?
Yes?
Hold on a second, that sounded suspicious. What did you actually change?
Well, we updated the UI so that it's no longer coded by a first-year developer and it crashes the game. Oh, also we got the Squadron Bank, a fleet carrier, and a bunch of cool perks as bonuses.
Well that sounds pretty cool. Well, I'll go and start inviting everyone for the party, right? Oh, what now? Oh, hold on a second. Please don't tell me you didn't leave the 500 player limit in.
Well, now it's a 600.
Oh, you dumb motherfucker! Yep, the guild system, otherwise known as Squadrons. A feature that rose my blood pressure when it was first released, and today sadly as well. Despite nearly uniformly positive improvements, today is and will remain utterly useless, worthless feature the developer, Frontier, dropped the ball on harder than an arthritis-ridden grandpa holding his young grandchild. That is to say, Squadrons are still catastrophic levels of worthless, useless waste of space, much like majority of Gen Z and Alpha. Now honestly I didn't think it was possible, but Frontier still manages to display just how out of touch they are with the community and how people play their game in the first place. But before we jump into that, we really have to recognize the positive improvements, however pointless and small they might be. A saying of lipstick on a pig does definitely come to mind, but we'll get into the reasons as to why soon. So first off, now we start off with a UI facelift. While for some reason Squadrons now gets a weird greenish-grey UI contrary to all the other UIs, it's a mild improvement, but not without its problems. More importantly, the rank system gets an improvement. More ranks, renaming abilities, and more versatility generally speaking, which is always a nice thing to have, but could be certainly expanded. But most importantly, the eBay scum-sucking garbage people, otherwise known as gold sellers, get a game-approved and very simple money transfer mechanic. That's not an exploit. The bank. Now you can either set a limit for deposition and withdraw, or like my Dead Horse Squadron, leave it unlimited and open to everyone if you want some sort of a donation box sort of a thing to boost or utterly remove credit grind for someone at your own expense. Now let's be honest, this ruins a lot of game design principles, but only nerds and idiots care about this sort of a stuff. Money go brrr, and that's all most of y'all care about anyways, right? But overall, I got some mixed feelings about this feature myself. But what is money good for? Well, finally, Squadrons get their own carriers, like it was originally intended. 25 billion credits! Yeah, 5 times as expensive as the personal carrier, with some additional mechanics. Most notably, ability to share ships and some commodities, just like money. Though you can only store non-engineered, non-pay-to-win ships, meaning that this feature is only better than the pure money sharing in terms of providing people with some pre-built ships, if they don't want to use third-party tools like Coriolis and shipyards to outfit their ships themselves. Basically, it's a lazy man's feature. And probably the most impactful and important positive of the Squadrons additions, the perks. Now you get to choose 2 active perks, one squadron-wide and one with additional conditions. Now this additional faction perk only activates when you're in a system with a aligned faction, or at least that's what we assume, since there is really no good explanation in-game as to when it activates. Now as for the perks themselves, they range from very useful to utterly worthless. And everyone with a brain will likely pick one out of the 5 most useful ones, and forget about the rest. A nice bonus, but variety is lacking hard.
This is Sparta!
And finally, the squadron limit, after the patch 1, was additionally increased by 100 players. Much wow, such improvement! So, yeah, overall you can already tell that the positives start to feel lacking to say the least. Almost cosmetic-like, and there's a reason. Generally speaking, guild systems are not about getting cool perks, but playing together with other people, organizing as a group, and this leads us into the negatives. Now we start the negatives with the abysmal state of the new UI. With plenty of bugs, extremely slow performance, honestly it feels like a first-year developer again has thrown together this and called it a day. My personal biggest annoyance comes from the setting up ranks. You set a few permissions and the selector immediately shoots to the top rank. Cool! Works as intended. Give this man a raise, please. Next up, the codex or other explanations, especially when it comes to something like a faction perk system or when it kicks in. There's little to no explainers or helpful material overall. Cool, it leads back to its normal agenda. Go fuck yourself if you want to learn anything. Well, if you know, you know. If you don't, fuck you.
However, your faction perk is only active in systems where your aligned faction is the controlling faction.
Oh wow, there's an explanation in the video, but not in the fucking game? Cool! After that, the next thing is a motherfucking squadron carrier, which has an upkeep, of course. And by now, if you don't know why it's a horrible feature, I invite you to check out my fleet carrier review. And final of the small negatives, squadrons now allow you to stalk and track players within your squadron, even if they are offline or solo mode. This only will help griefers. So what was the point of this? I frankly don't know. But all those are smaller fry that might annoy you and prevent you from doing something quickly enough. However, when it comes to the guild system itself, well, it just have to do a couple of things. A few things that Frontier, in their infinite wisdom back in 2019-18, when the feature was first released, utterly and miserably failed to accomplish, and today, after the feature improvements, have not even tried to address or even attempted to touch, which is why Squadrons will remain an utterly worthless and useless feature abandoned by players, much like so many other half-assed features. And that is a shame, hell, even a crime in my book. Squadrons are a catastrophic failure, exposing just how out-of-touch game designers have and continue to be. But if you're curious as to know why, how, and what, well, tell me, what is a guild system in a game supposed to accomplish? Well, if you're one of those, dum-dums who use AI for everything rather than using your own brain, well, let's see what the ChatGPT, for example, has to say. Feel free to read all the responses, but it all comes down to 5 things. Number 1, to offer and make players more social experience. Number 2, build your own communities. Number 3, anchor people, otherwise known as keep people playing. Number 4, provide tools and abilities to organize events and gameplay. Big group events, raids, guild versus guild battles, or self-made meetups. And number 5, give players agency and governance. Like, for example, having your mini-faction and its leadership and organization. Now, sure, you can condense a couple of these points and spell them out differently, but that's the basic idea. Social playing and ability to organize a bigger group than just a small squad. So then tell me, does the old, or especially the new and improved Squadrons do any of these? Number 1, barely, if at all. Number 2, absolutely not. In fact, it does the opposite, and I'll explain. Number 3, no. Number 4, absolutely not. And number 5, also absolutely not.
Yeah, so with this release, what we're looking to do a big refresh of the Squadrons feature. So we're looking to make it a lot more user-friendly to interact with. Fascinating. So there's a lot less friction when creating and managing your Squadrons. New player-friendly as well, and a bit more incentive to join than we had before.
Fascinating. Yep, and also we're going to try hard to give a bit more identity to some of our Squadrons, right?
Yes, yeah. So we're looking at making sure that when you're part of a squadron, like you really feel that you're part of that specific squadron and other people that meet you up. After some further thought, we decided that actually we're going to stick with Squadrons as the name because it's what everyone's used to. It describes what they are a little bit more. It feels a little bit more about camaraderie and about being together and community. Rather than,
Makes a lot of sense.
Vanguards, But Vanguards will still be the update name.
Now, while you can try and argue with me on these points, I remind you that I'm pulling the ad populum card here, as I, the leader of the largest squadron, the Dead Horse Squadron in the whole game, can tell you, no one cares about this system. And there are 2 good main aspects as to why the previous list, for example, was so uniformly no-centric. First off, Squadrons fail to provide players with actual tools and features that allows them to actually organize themselves. And the second is my most hated part, the member limit. So then, let's take a look and examine just how and why these 2 parts utterly invalidate the whole Squadrons feature and makily dangerous guild system. A pathetic, laughable joke and a spit in the community's face. So first off, the things not done or things not implemented. Yeah, the guild system in Elite Dangerous is so blatantly void of features that honestly there's no wonder when people and players just don't want to use it in the first place. Cause why the hell would you use it when there's no tools, or rather the outside tools like Discord is a lot more easier to use and a lot more faster. And you know, to put an emphasis on this, the tools we have to organize ourselves and do things are so few you can count them on a single hand. Global Squadron chat, check. Ranks, check. Message of the day plus bulletin board, check. Ability to share bookmarks with Squadron, check. And that is it. There are literally just 3 mechanics out of those 4 that communicate with other players outside of direct messaging. Now tell me, how the hell are you supposed to organize people in a squadron to do anything? Seriously, I want to know because I'm out of ideas. Can you message specific rank players in your squadron? No. Can you put any kind of a mission or galaxy marker for certain tasks? No. Can you post a self-made mission or a task for squadron's goals? No. Basically, you get my point. And I'm not even comparing Elite with any other semi-competent game yet. Ever been a part of any kind of guild in MMO. You'd know just how fun these types of groups can be, how much more rich the gameplay and community gets, when you together can communicate and strive for a common goal with not just 4 players in your wingmates, but to hundreds of fellow players. See, I come from PlanSide 2, wherein for the first time in my gaming life I joined a mega guild, a sort of a spam guild that invited literally everyone, and I tell you, the characters, fun, and gameplay we had together is literally the highlight of my gaming career. If you can call it that.
3, 2, 1, Banu!
The glory! The glory!
Right, the race begins in 10, 9. I got bored.
Go! Go! Go!
So when I see Elite Dangerous developers utterly squandering and ruining this feature like a cheap toilet paper after a massive diarrhea is just heartbreaking. And what's worse, Elite developers, be they old ones from back in the day who made the Squadrons or the current ones who made the adjustments, they literally have a perfect blueprint on how most player groups operate, what tools they need and use, and how they play the game. So literally, all that Frontier had to do was just to implement same tools in-game, at the very least, and that would have worked! But nah, let's just sprinkle in some bribes in form of a squadron perk, the bank, which, yeah, fair enough, is a nice thing, and a carrier, and that surely will make the squadrons more usable, right? What are you doing? Do these developers even know how people play their game? And yes, Frontier, I am calling you out of touch, because you clearly demonstrate just how much you actually are, and that is just sad. And then, of course, we have the most hated part of the system. The member limit of 500. Oh, sorry, no, I mean, they increased it to 600 players. Ooh, what an improvement. Such development. Much wow. So, back in the day, I was already shitting and pissing like an incontinental horse about how a 500 player limit for a guild system is a horrible thing. I said back then and continue to say that no one will be using squadrons with such a small limit. And skip 5 years later, what a surprise, the great and powerful TheYamiks was right. No one ever used squadrons for anything. Not even developers. With a broken code and absolutely no useful features or use cases. A pathetic embarrassment. So now tell me, with an extra 100 players and a few bribes, do these developers think that this feature will be saved? What the hell are they smoking? Cause I want some. But okay, let's explain just how and why these limits exist and why, more importantly, they are bad. So first off, these limits exist because of a technical limitation. The answer to that is no, absolutely not. Elite Dangerous already have player groups with over 10,000 members listed in them. FleetCom and many other ones exist like that. And then additionally there's the friends list, which for me is nearly 2,000 contacts large. So clearly there are virtually unlimited lists, but even so, in a modern day, telling that with a ray tracing capable hardware and extremely good performance CPUs and storage, you'd be telling me that you could not code a simple database with more than 5,000 items, sorry, 600 items stored in them, while there are 52,000 squadrons already. Well, if that's the case, Tell me, is Pirate Software working on Elite Dangerous now too? Is this the second generation Blizzard employee coding style? I wonder. So clearly the limit of squadron members is a manufactured and enforced thing. Okay. Why? Yeah, when the developer has to put in a limit, they have to explain why, rather than we, the community, have to explain why we need unrestricted member lists. When you're putting in a limit, you have to explain why it's necessary. Now, since I could not for the life of me find anywhere where Frontier actually had mentioned the limit and explained why it even exists, I'm left really assuming, just like you. So then let's give them a benefit of the doubt and try to figure out what would be the reason, and what I came up with was two reasonable-ish reasons. One of them is a technical limitation. Are we running the servers on floppy disks? I don't think so, so that's dispelled already. But the other one, well, more common reason for MMO games to have a guild limit for members is a competitive edge. Okay, so then, well, let's assume that's the case. How can Squadrons, a massive one, especially beat the smaller ones then? Well, if Squadrons affected the BGS, then maybe BGS, but since they don't, that's not the case. In fact, there is no gameplay in which currently Squadrons would beat solo or smaller Squadron players. So as is, Squadrons in Elite Dangerous for grander scheme is purely cosmetic thing. By that I mean that you can have 500 players in one squadron that will do just as well as 500 one-person squadrons with a Discord attached to it. Speaking of that, if you want to join the community, there's a Discord link down below for my Discord. Haha! But back to the topic. I kinda lied. There is one feature that actually bigger squadron would dominate a smaller one. And that's called the built-in leaderboards for squadrons themselves. Yep. This garbage feature that no one asked for, nor anyone cares about, is the only way squadrons can compete or interact with each other in the first place. Not only the leaderboards are pathetically laughable feature in the first place, but also to have this as the main reason why squadrons have to be kept in certain limits is downright retarded. The logic we're dealing here is like me saying, hey, I like kicking and stomping puppies because trees are brown. What literally they have done is invent a reason for the limit to exist in the first place, or essentially fuck over the community. Cool, right? And I say community because the limit actually does more harm than good. Yes, that's right. For example, because of the unrestricted member amount for private groups, such things as OBS where you only go there to either gank people and get banned, or play in PvE environment with other people around, or Distant Worlds that is made for literally an event, or FleetCom for the carrier nonsense. With thousands of players in them, they are created and maintained because they allow unrestricted member accounts, creating a whole different side of Elite Dangerous. So now imagine, private groups are now limited. These communities would never have risen in such a form. And do I need to explain any more? But better yet, I found this clip.
Yeah, so we've got the leaderboards that we have in the current one, but when we were looking at them, one of the things that we found was that if you're a small, like, tight-knit squadron of like 10 to 20 people, you're going to really struggle to be competitive in the leaderboard if you're going up against like a big behemoth of a squadron that's got like 500 or so players. So what we've done is we've kept the idea of the everyone against everyone leaderboard, which is the primary one that we'll show you when you come to the UI. But we've also introduced two brackets where we only take the top 50 or the top 10 players from the squadron and we only count their scores. So if you've got a squadron that's really good at bounty hunting and they've got like 500 players and they're like top of the overall leaderboard, but then you've got another squadron that's only got 10 people and they are the best at bounty hunting. They are the 10 best people at bounty hunting. They will actually win the top 10 bracket, even though they won't be able to win the all bracket, but they will win the top 10, and then each bracket gets the same rewards. So
it's a great way of making it fair for all, right? So no matter how the size of the squadron.
Access.
Oh, look, Frontier devs actually know how the leaderboards can be limited to top 10 and 50 members. So what the hell's the point of limiting the member list in the first place, huh? And just to over-explain, Elite has no raid bosses or mob spawns that a guild can occupy like in, say, World of Warcraft, because guess what? Elite is a peer-to-peer game, not a server-based one. meaning that every time a player goes anywhere, either they join an instance, or if there are too many people in a large instance, the game creates a new one, and at no cost. So again, why is there a player limit? Oh, but to beat this dead horse even more, let's explain how the other side works, and why you should not have a limited squadron sizes. Now, first off, like I mentioned, if you can join a big squadron, it gives you no pressure for a new player. Now, first off, like I mentioned, if you can join a big squadron and there's no limit, there is no pressure for any kind of player to join it, or be the first one to be there. Otherwise, there are limited spots. Right off the gate, there might not be any obligations, unlike smaller groups that might expect more out of their members. And second, the guild itself has no pressure to be competitive. Also, fuck leaderboards. Without a limit, you don't need to worry about how many active players you have, or that you need to kick out the inactive ones. You can create and grow your group as large as you want, and guess what? Most popular groups tend to eventually grow naturally. What a surprise, isn't it? And what a hard limit only does is stifle this natural growth. And yes, this is where I proclaim, guild limits harm gaming communities. Now, sure, it's understandable that in a game like WoW, for a competitive edge, you have to limit some people, sure. But on the flip side, in PlanSide 2, we had thousands of players in KOTV outfit, and that only helped us and our larger faction to dominate the server. And so, because we were not limited, this guild, this outfit from PlanSide 2 introduced new players, myself included, to social part of the large games. So remember, restrictions stifle growth, literally. And so restrictions harm the gaming communities and their growth. So get this garbage out now. Now, you might be wondering, why was leaderboards and the limits in the first place introduced? Well, I can't really say for sure, but in my badly educated opinion, Frontier did what Frontier does usually when it comes to shit they don't understand. Someone from outside of the company probably came in, explained the game design for a typical MMO game, and without even thinking, Frontier's own designers swallowed those teachings and without thinking of how Elite Dangerous is played by their audience. Hence my claim that Frontier devs are being out of touch. They don't play their own game and simply copied over obsolete game design from some other game, because that sounded clever and smart when somebody explained it to them. Additionally, let's remember that in a typical MMO, guilds have also extra gameplay, raids and PvP arenas. Elite does not. In typical MMO, server place is limited, including instancing. Elite does not. Because I can tell you right now that anyone with a few hours of gameplay immediately would recognize just how useless leaderboards are, how lacking in useful tools squadrons are, and more importantly, just how pointless, stifling, and stupid the limit of squadron memberships really are. Hell, even a quick glance over a squadron browser, with such communities as Fatherhood, having several nearly full squadrons, shows just how necessary a good community building tool like a guild system is for MMO games, and that includes Elite. And no amount of pathetic bribes like squadron perks or a bank or a fucking fleet carrier will make the feature any less or more usable. So just like single mothers, players will simply join the squadron, take the child support perk, and fuck off, never to engage with the feature ever again. And then you remember that, oh, well, look at that, third-party tools like a Discord, for example, does so much more than a squadron. You're left facing the reality. Squadrons have no use in-game, and like back in the day when it was first introduced, are still dead on arrival garbage that spits in the community's face, stifling natural growth. I hate the implementation of this feature so much, because I have seen what even a simple, basic guild system can accomplish in, say, PlanSide 2, and it's not to even mention or compare with a far better one from, for example, EVE Online. And to fully drive the point home, even fucking Star Citizen has better guild system. The garbage broken perpetual alpha dumpster fire has a better guild system. Now think about that.